Okay, welcome to our episode with our visitors guest, Shannon Sweets, Mr. Eric and Miss Shannon. The famous name, right? We always, because at first my husband was like, Eric and Eric, whatever. And I was like, Shannon is Shannon Sweets, right? We're like laughing about it because eventually we caught on. But welcome to Grace Life Church and our Christ and Culture podcast. Now we're doing this weekly. But we had set up a meeting back in a couple months ago, I think. And then life happened, and then summer happened, and but we're trying to catch up and see how y'all are doing. And we caught y'all because of being here in our neighborhood, or the premises, the same building. So it's cool. It was for us. It was cool to see that you're here and that you get to experience our neck of the woods. But we also know that it comes with struggle, if you will, because business. But how's it been? How's it going?
It's starting to get better. It has been a struggle. We always talk about how it's so weird because we started in McAllen, and the culture and the stuff that people wanted over there, we knew what they wanted. We moved to Mercedes and it was completely different. They didn't like the same stuff, so we had to figure out, what they like. So now we're kind of in that same spot now that we're in Wesco, kind of trying to figure out what it is everybody likes and what they want, and it's different than it was in Mercedes. We're not that far apart. What, 15 minutes?
It's less than a mile, 5 miles away.
And it's crazy, but I think we're starting to kind of figure it out. People are kind of starting to figure out we're here, so hopefully it just gets better and get worse.
And when we first met y'all, we had an outreach, not outreach, but
the car wash.
Part of our Project 83, that's also a part of what we do. We do everything. We're trying. But it was an outreach and giving away the free car washes and stuff, so we were able to come by to the restaurant and to come take a break. And that's when I met Eric, right? And then, because you were there already, but you were busy. And so he gave me a little brief. But then we got to talking, and so you have a testimony, and that's part of also your business and things, and as a couple and everything. So it was cool to hear. So not all the way at every detail, but I know briefly.
A quick
recap would help, our viewers
how we
and
got
stuff.
Started, I guess that's what you're talking about, Mary. Making sure.
The church background.
So this was not what I planned. God has a sense of humor, right? Not at all. I didn't even, my mom used to tell me, you don't even bake, you don't cook, you don't do anything. And now it's this is my job, or, my life. But I had a real job. I did PR and marketing. I worked for Chick-fil-A. I worked for the animal shelter. I worked for Sodexo. And it just so happened, Sodexo was my last job. They were the food service at UTRGV.
Yes.
Well, kind of then. But they did away with my position, out of nowhere. And I was I'm a single mom, recently divorced. What am I going to do? Trying to raise my daughter. And I had taken some cake decorating classes, and I was kind of doing it on the side, nothing super crazy. We were running a cafe inside the family church in McAllen.
Yes.
And, but that was it. And I was that's not enough. I need to, what am I going to do? And I sat for a while, and we just kept running the cafe, and I finally told my mom, I was hey, my mom was a huge part of all of it. When I was working, I would work all day, I would bake, I would come home at night and bake, she'd come the next day, pick it up, take it to the church, I'd meet her after work.
So it comes from family.
Yeah.
Okay. Usually does.
Yeah, so she was a huge part of it. And I told her finally after some, sulking and, everything, I got over it. And I was hey, what if we did this full time? What if we opened a location? And she's no, it's too expensive. It's too risky. No, we can't do that.
Like a parent would.
Yeah.
Wisdom first, pray about it. And then, okay.
But I was it'll be fun, Mom, come on. And she's no. And I was okay.
Fun.
Come on, Dad, join the game.
Get on my crazy train. And so I was okay, fine. Still kind of trying to convince her. Nothing was coming up. No new jobs are coming up. The valley's kind of, it's hard sometimes. Especially for positions like that. And I was making good money, so I wanted to keep making good money.
Yeah.
But we were still at church. We were there Wednesday night, Sunday morning, or Sunday all day. And one Wednesday night, maybe, 2 or 3 weeks after my mom and I talked about it, I know her now, but I knew who she was. But there was an older, one of the moms of the worship leader, And she came through the line. She got a coffee. She didn't come through all the time, just, sporadically. She came through. I gave her coffee. She went down. She was fixing it. And she was like, come here. And I was like, okay. So I waited. She's like, I don't know what it is. She's like, but whatever. She's like, my spirit's telling me, like, whatever it is. She's like, I don't know you. She's like, I don't know what you want to do with your business or what you're doing. She's, but whatever it is that you've been contemplating, she's like, the Lord wants you to do it. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm going to cry right now.
Know. I'm like, yes, like those Holy Spirit moments where God just literally comes directly for the hidden prayers and everything.
And we hadn't told anybody. Like, I had told my mom. We hadn't told our volunteers. Like, I hadn't mentioned it to anybody else but my mom. And I was like, I'm like bawling at the end, like, I was like, can you go tell my mom?
Confirm. God, you told me already, but no, Mom.
So my mom always ran the cash register for me, and I was like, Miss Mary wants to talk to you. And so she told her, and my mom started crying, and after church, my mom was like, okay, fine, we'll do it. And so I think after that, we found a storage unit for a really good price that had almost everything we needed. We found some used equipment. We found a space. Like, everything just kind of lined up. And so we opened our first location in McAllen in August of, it was 2012.
You look at me. We didn't know each other then.
Wait, really, there's more.
I'm just looking, like my mind's working.
Yes.
I think it was 2012. And we were there for 10 years, 9 years. And it's funny because, like, it's always those, when you start thinking, you always start thinking of things, and, like, if you don't move on what God's telling you, I feel like he'll push you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make it, like, you're going to go.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to listen or
like
not.
Jonah and the whale. Like, oh, I'm going to go Nineveh. No, I'm not. I'm going to go over here. Oh.
So that happened. Like, my landlord in McAllen, she had been awesome. Like, I had been there forever. She was great. They were friendly, nice. Her son was nice. And then we had kind of been talking about maybe we need to move. Like, this isn't going real well. In that time frame, we had stopped doing the church. We just
Mind you, we were trying to stay in McAllen area, right? And then, but my mother-in-law, she would always say, y'all need to move to Weslaco.
And I was like, no, it's too far. I lived in McAllen. No, I lived in Weslaco at the time. I had moved to Weslaco already, but I was like, no, it's too far. And, like, all of our customers are in McAllen, and McAllen's just better.
Then we
But now it flipped. God was telling Mom.
No, we went further. We went to Mercedes.
Yeah, you passed it. You're like,
and I was like, no, we're going to make this work. We're already here. Like, this is going to work. No, this is going to work. And it just wasn't working. And all of a sudden, my landlord started, like, it was 3 little units in where I was at. And the middle person moved out. And there was something with the water bill that we never had a problem with. And my landlord was having a conniption over $30. And I was like, I've been here 9 years. Like, what the heck? And we had a huge blowout with her. And it was funny because in the midst of that, like the week that all that was going on, the mall manager from Mercedes just came by. Never, just happened to pull up. And I think he's like, I have a space I'd like to show you guys. He's like, I think y'all would be perfect out there. He left, and I told him, how does he know we'd be perfect out there? I've never seen him before. Like, he doesn't even know what we do.
Like, okay, God, candy, okay.
So we went, I think it was a Friday? We went.
He showed up Wednesday. We
went
went to
and
go
looked
look
at
on
it
Friday and signed the contract on the following Wednesday.
Yeah, by the following week, we had signed a contract. In that time frame, my other landlord, because I was like, well, I'm gonna lose my deposit. I want to make, how are we gonna get out of here? And she's gonna have a fix. I still have a contract. And she had come in super mad about this $30 water bill. And I don't remember what I said, but she said something about.
I like telling it. So I didn't live too far from the where we had the cafe, the plaza. So like it was walking distance really. And so I go after I drop off my daughter at school. I pull up and the lock is changed, and I call her.
No, but this is before that. Okay. She comes and she was like,
argument.
I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, I don't know what you're gonna do. Do you want to just move out? And I was like, I do. And her face, like what?
Yes.
Like she thought she was threatening me, and I was like, oh my God, this is like what we needed
yes.
because I already signed. Like I'm ready to sign in Mercedes, and I was like, yeah, I'll move out. And she was like,
of course,
like stormed out, super mad, and then that.
So she changed the lock the next morning or that night. Mind
you, we still had a week, like of the month that we had already paid.
So I saw her son's truck at the plaza, and
you were like, tingly.
I was like, I wonder what he's doing there. And so I called her and let her know. And she's like, nah, he just goes and checks on the other 2 tenants or whatever, or the other tenant that's there. And so I didn't think anything of it. I went home the next morning. Locks changed, but he wasn't smart enough to change the lock in the back.
Oh,
in the
well,
back.
God again.
Yeah.
God providing and checking up on y'all.
So we spent 8 a.m.
The two of us.
The two of
with
us.
A little bit of help here and there. A couple of
Yeah.
people helped throughout the day, but
From
we
8
moved
a.m.
everything in that entire cafe in 24 hours.
Yeah.
8 a.m. to 1 a.m. the next morning.
That's
Just moving
And then I
stuff
called her and I was
back.
like, hey, we're done. It's clean. I'm out. And she was like, what?
Yeah, because she's like,
I was like,
have
well,
your
if y'all want
stuff.
to change the locks then. And she's like, we didn't change the locks.
Of
And I'm like,
course,
well, I couldn't get in the front door. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I always feel like, and it happened in Mercedes too. Like, we drug our feet. We kept saying, no, like, we're going to stay here. We're going to make it work. We're going to stay here. We're going to make it work. And just, it was just like kind of push. Like,
Yeah.
you're not, this isn't where you're supposed to be anymore.
There it wasn't as dramatic. Like our AC started going out.
Like,
the
everything
one in the
started
back,
going
yes,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
like-
And then the mall put it on the tenants to fix.
Of course.
I was like, oh yeah, I have, $18,000 lying around.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the insurance, which is I think like $500,000 to get a crane and for them to install it. It's like we don't
course.
have that kind of
Yeah,
money.
the
So like maybe
extremes.
we're not H&M. And then
I
so-
know, right? Yeah, the
but-
corporate. But
But like it wasn't as dramatic. Like we left on good terms over there. Like
Yeah.
everything was fine. But it was that same like, okay, one day to the next, like we're moving tomorrow. Like I
Yeah.
think there we decided like Saturday is our last day and we're moving. Like
Yeah.
and that was like on a Wednesday or Thursday.
And even then, there was a struggle to open here because we had signed the lease with Ted, the landlord, in
In
January.
January.
We
We
didn't
didn't
open
move
until
until-
March.
okay.
End of March.
So
Yeah.
it was just stuff, and we're like, it has to work. Like nothing. Like I would tell her, nothing. Like every time God wants us to do something, there's always opposition. So it's just like we got to keep going. We can't give
Yes.
up.
And
then,
it's easy to get like because we've done it. It's easy to get in that like like
Of
why is
course.
it gotta be so hard or
Yeah.
when's
The
like come
human-
on God
yeah.
like what the heck what's going on and we've had those moments a lot
Yeah.
recently but through all of it like there has been so much grace like where I'm a super control freak and like where the things that I wanted to control they weren't happening the way I wanted them to be the way I wanted to control them but they were happening.
Yes.
And that was a huge learning lesson for me, like to be like, okay, like I don't have to be like
Yeah.
God's got it. Like
Yes.
I don't have to do it. Like He's
Yeah.
gonna take care of it. We had grace with our landlord at the house. We've
Uh-huh.
had grace with Ted, like our employees, like hanging in there. And I
Yeah.
told them, I said, just all those little things that you kind of take for granted, but like God's had His hand on all of it
Of
through
course.
all of
Yeah.
it. And even like no matter how hard it's been, it's still going.
And just
Like,
the fact that y'all see it, because it's one thing to go through it and everything, but it's another to actually realize that the behind the scenes is that He's with us.
Yeah.
And it's hard for a lot of people to go through day by day and remind themselves constantly. And like you're saying, like it's real, that like this is realness of the struggle and the pain and the suffering. But then overall, I mean, and the Bible says, right, like He brings joy, right, in the morning. And for y'all, thank God, right, it's been mornings coming in.
the
ever
mornings
so-
are getting a little brighter.
Yes.
So we laughed, and I was like, the little hole at the end of the tunnel is a little bigger. It's a little bigger.
and through it all, like you have to do your part. Like we did the whole Wall of Jericho march around the cafe, around the
Nice.
drive-through, and so
Yeah.
we had done it in Mercedes and we did it
Okay.
here, and then like that just came to mind. But it was a whole different spin on it this time when I studied it. It was, like God promised Joshua and the Israelites. He
Yes.
promised them the promised land. He said,
Yeah.
"This is the promised land." He never said He was going to give it to them. They had to go in there and seize it. They had to go
Yeah.
in there and take it for themselves.
Yeah.
They had to.
To work for it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had to march on Jericho, all the other cities that resided and everything, but it's like it
But
was
also
a-
like to break what the
Yeah.
past had or whatever was there before.
yeah, and then along the way, people that like Rahab, like she was the only one spared in Jericho because she decided to help them when they were spying on Jericho, and it's just knowing that, and it's just, and then in all that you learn obedience. Is
Yes.
like you have to, like regardless of how long it takes, you have to learn obedience and then perseverance, and it's just like
And it's a learning process.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah,
still times
I
that I'm
mean-
like,
Yeah.
come on, God. Like,
And we hope it is encouraging. Like speaking about it, testifying. We know that God's gonna, bring a blessing, a personal ring, right? Like one hit that's hidden that you're waiting for. We know that's what we believe. That's what we preach. But at the same time, you being obedient, also like in like something like this, just to speak it out, to declare His word, and just let others know, like it's going to be okay. Like it's not always just as long as the time keeps going, right, and we're still here, like, it's going to get better. And in essence, yes, we still suffer and still go through things, but God is with us, and He will remind us through all these experiences, right, that He's there. And like you're saying, like, using the Word of God as a fighting sword, if you will, like as a fighting shield, and doing those actions, like, just brings you just closer to God personally, but then you show us, like, oh wow, like, that's cool, because we can do something like that in our lives too. So just real quick, Shannon's Sweets is the drive-through, and y'all,
It is a drive-through.
yes,
I know it's confusing looking, but it is a drive-through. We're working on some signage.
yes, no, and I love how y'all have, like, it grew, like, with all the different sizes, and I'm like, oh, look. And even my sister, because she made me buy one of the cups, one of them was mine, but she was like, you need to buy me one too, because right away when y'all started with, like, with this promotion and this guy, I was like, my sister, I don't know, like, we got close because we work together, but we're both teachers, and so she asks, like, what else do they have? And I'm like, anything right now, like, literally, because I would ask, like, what do you think and what do you offer? And of course, like, it would be like whatever description of, whatever coffees and drinks and non-coffee. And then we went through the whole diabetes talk and everything, because I got it. And then thank God I'm out of it because I had to lose weight. But we're coming back. Literally, you give those options. And then the little half gallon, I'm saying everything. What do y'all offer? Please?
That's what I always tell people. Like, there's very few things I say no to. Like, I had somebody drive through yesterday, and they were like, I don't remember what she called it, a chunky monkey. And I was like, so we're not the same place that was here before. But if you tell me what was in it, I can try and make it for you.
Yes.
So, like, we try to accommodate. Like, I don't know, like, I don't like to go to places, and they're like, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, but you can. And they're like, but we don't do that. And
or
I'm
like if you have the ingredients.
Like, it's not hard. Like, my thing is, I want our customers to come back, not just for our product, but because they were treated well and they were respected and they got a little nugget of, well,
that's super welcoming to say, like, hey, what do you suggest? Like, what did you think it has? And then they tell you, and then you do it. That's awesome too. That's super welcoming.
Yeah, and like I told them, I said I was sad when we left Mercedes because Mercedes was a different setup. We had a dining room, and people would come in, and we were able to talk to people and hang out a little bit more. We really got to know people. We made some really good friends over there. Yeah. And I told them, I was like, it's not like that here. Like, it's going to be so different. But it's cool because we've still been able to do that. Like, people will walk up and just stand and chat with us. And, like, so
we stand there outside the window.
And, like, it's cool. Like, it's a different setting. It's a different environment. But, like, we're still able to kind of pass on that same culture of what we're trying to get through. And I always tell them, like, we put the scriptures on the cup, and we've had a couple, bad seeds, but, like, for the most part, it's always been positive. And I told him, I said, he'll get frustrated. He's like, oh, well, I'm not preaching and I'm not telling anybody this. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know what that scripture did for that person. Like, and I joke, the kids come up, like, the kids from the schools will come afterwards, and I'm like, I'll give them a free water because they need the scripture on the cup.
They need to Google what it says in the Bible.
Look at that
Bible app.
But, like, I told them, I said, we're planting seeds. And I said, I think for me, in all of the struggles that we've had moving around and everything, I said the biggest learning curve for me has been my mind, like, changing my mindset. Because, like, the human part of me is like, the money, I need to pay the bills, and we have to pay this, and running a business is expensive.
Of course.
And, like, that's what I start to panic about. And I'm like, the money's not coming in. And one day I stood in the middle of the cafe, and I was like, okay, Lord, like, it's not about the money, right? I was like, you send me the people that you want us to reach, that you need us to talk to. And I'm fine with that. Like, whatever.
Yeah, because you're sharing the word, and you're sharing God, and you're sharing His love in your way. And that's something hard, I think, in a lot of churches, because, again, like, we go through, like, there's different pastors, different preachers, there's different styles, there's different messages, but then they come, or to a church, they get hurt or whatever, and then they deny God or whatever. But we're over here trying to convince them, like, no, it wasn't God, it's like the person. They make mistakes or whatever. But then, like you're saying, you learn, and the fact that you can say that you change your mind, and not even, like, just change it, like, you renewed it, right, into what He wanted to show you. Yes, and that's so cool to know that it does happen, and it's still happening, because that's the God that we worship, right? Like, that He's still doing the miracles and everything. But they're so different and different. And
it's ever changing, but, like, and it was like, I guess it kind of reminded me, like, not that it depends on me, but it kind of does, because it depends on my mindset. Like, God can do anything. Yeah. But it depends on what I think about it, or how I'm going to, kind of what I'm going to allow. Like, am I going to be obedient and let him do what he can do,
Yeah.
or am I gonna fight it? And I was fighting it hard for a long time. It's
Like
still a
most of us
struggle,
do,
but like
yeah.
I don't know. I just had to have that like, as long as everything's covered and you got this, God, like
Because he is a provider. And that's
Yeah.
awesome. Again, it's very encouraging to see that he's doing that for y'all. Like, yes, because we talked for a little bit ever so often, and Eric would tell me, right, oh, look, we're doing this, we're doing that. Or like the guy that went to Marines, right, or something?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Army?
Dakota, yeah, he
In
went
the
off.
Navy. Huh? Fall
Yeah,
off.
I'll try not to get emotional. I got really attached to the
No,
kid.
I'm sorry. I'm one of those interviewers. No.
So no, like for a while, like we struggled on paying our employees, so
Of
we
course.
would tell them, and he's like, anyway, it's like, man, we're gonna get you paid, I promise. And he's like, man, don't even worry about it. Like the money's the least of it. And I was like, that's not how a job works, bro.
Yeah.
But he was saying, nah, man, like when I applied for y'all, and then when I was doing the working interview, I was lost. I didn't know. Like I was digging into Catholicism. He was even doing the whole looking into different pagan religions,
Of course,
and like
yeah.
and so he's just like, and then you started like everything you said was like a biblical principle, and I was just like, oh, thank God. And so I was like, I'm living like my. Like,
what you
my
felt
ex-
was
yeah.
your duty in life, right? Because
so,
you wanted
like,
to preach and stuff.
So when we moved over here, he's like, hey, I'm gonna get baptized. And so I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, your parents go? And he's like, no. So we show up and go to his church, and he gets baptized. And so took him out to eat. But we started having Bible studies every Thursday. And so just him and me, and we'd invite people. Like people would show up a couple times, but it was just, the focus was just him and this kid. Like I love that kid. Like,
he was super sad for like a week.
Yeah, and then we would see. I mean, at first, right when
He
Eric was able to be there
Yeah.
before, find like all this changes.
like
and
I've
stuff,
never
but-
seen, not that there isn't anybody out there that isn't receptive, but this kid was like a sponge. Like everything I tell him, like he'd remember it, and
Yeah,
he wouldn't
and
even
take
have
it in and use
and
it,
he's
yeah.
just
And
like,
not even that, but he would go home and he would research it and he would do it on
Wow.
his own
Yeah.
and
Got
come
his
back
brother
and
in.
questions
Continue
and-
that
yeah.
hunger and thirst.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it
And
was just like-
he came he was talking about the walls of Jericho. We did it for 7 days. He came from Edinburgh every day, whether he was working or not, whatever time we were going to do it at. And he walked with us and prayed with us and
Yes.
read scriptures with us and everything with all of it. And it was just really cool. And at the end of it, he got real teary-eyed too. And he was like, he said the same thing again. And he was like, it's not about the money. He was like, what you guys have done in my life,
Yeah.
he goes, is like, I can't even like tell you guys thank you enough. Like,
And that's what we hope. We hope
and
to
I
do
told
that
him,
for
I was
others.
like, we're not out like, oh, we're gonna, you don't even know the impact that you have
Yeah.
sometimes with people,
Yeah.
and just showing up and being friendly and being there for people. Like, that's all they need. Like, they just
Yeah.
need encouragement. Like, we didn't do anything special. We're not anything special. Like,
Yeah.
but we just gave him what he needed at the
And
time.
I love it because
and-
y'all are special. Like you are, like you really are, in the sense that even since the first times when y'all because I had heard a little bit about from the Facebook, right? And my most of my relatives live in Mercedes, so they would share, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, I love this drink, whatever." And but then y'all coming in, we're like I don't know, like it's that spiritual connection, like the Holy Spirit saying, like, what's it called, like they're good, like like it's fruitful and something is gonna happen. And so just seeing these changes and seeing these lives being impacted, like it's just so encouraging, because that's what we hope to do in our setting, and the fact that you do it in yours too, like it's awesome. Like it's just, again, encouraging, and just knowing that it matters. It does, like it matters. Whoever sits here in our chairs, or whoever listens and streams, and whoever goes, drives by and talks to y'all, even like just for the order, like God is moving, and that's so amazing to see. And I love seeing that just God continues to use us in our ways, because we overthink it. Like, or sometimes we
do.
think like, I need to have a position, I need to have a title, I need to
gotta
have a
be
church
this way.
Yeah, and again, maybe it's like that mind control. No, you're fine. And these isolate a lot. I'm just kidding. But I love that God still shows up. And we, one of our pastors used to say, shows up and shows off, right? And so I love that we get to see in real time, real lifestyles, like daily things happening. And I remember, like, when you presented him to us, right? And you're like, hey, look, I'm, doing Bible study, whatever, and everything. Yeah. And I was just like, that's so cool. Like, you have your own guy to, like, seed into.
Yeah.
But, like, maybe in that moment you were, like, just like, whatever, like, it doesn't matter. But now looking back, like, man, what a treasure. Like, what a treasure to have. And now he's out there. Now he's out there doing the country's work, and he has this foundation, which he wouldn't have had. He might have, ended up lost, like more, because he knew he was lost. But just the fact that y'all, just again, we do the seed, and God does the rest, right?
Yeah.
But no,
What
it's
does it
super
say?
encouraging.
What scripture say? One plants the seed, one waters it. God cultivates the growth.
Of course, and you see the fruits. Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up in things and think, oh, this isn't going well, or oh, we're not doing right, but like if you step back and like look at the whole picture, and it's easier to do after the fact, right?
Of course.
Hindsight.
Let me reflect. It's very much easier. Yeah.
But like, and especially like with this, like the whole journey, like I look back and I think, man, like we've come a long way. I took a cake decorating class at Hobby Lobby. Like I was just trying to get away from my ex-husband.
Yeah, right now too.
One night a week.
Hobby Lobby starts
But,
sponsoring.
That's what led to this, and
Yeah.
God's amazing.
And I recently, you mentioned being one of the, what are they called from WISD?
Oh yeah, so we just became vendors for what's it called?
We're a family. Yeah, we love family.
Oh, my baby crying.
No, he's fine.
Yeah, so we just recently became vendors for Wesco ISD. So now we can do anything for them. So we're reaching out for coffee bars, the caterings, the sandwiches, desserts, anything like cupcakes, cookies, whatever. And we do that for everybody. So I mean, we do caterings, we do custom desserts, we do coffee bars. We have all the coffees and all of that sort of stuff. So like I said before, there's very few things I say no to. If I can figure it out and it's within our means, I'm like, yeah, sure, we could do that.
And we were talking a little bit earlier, but so you do it's like the critical part of.
I do all the details.
Yes, and then Eric.
I do all the general stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm just. So it's funny because the 4 years we were in Mercedes, no one knew who she was. Mind you, the names on the wall, and then like up until the last year, like we
People
were there.
would still be coming and be
oh,
like, "Oh, you're Shannon."
There's
Like-
Shannon.
I was there every day, but I stayed in the kitchen. I
So,
like to hide.
I unintentionally became the face of Shannon Sweet, so this is what you get, people. But yeah, so like I was the one mingling. Like I do all the like.
He did all our PR.
Yeah, I was gonna say your turn. They say you become your spouse. So welcome, Shannon. No, we love y'all. We're rooting for y'all. We're expecting just to see greater things continue to happen, and we know that they are already like hidden behind the scenes. But I love that we get to share a little bit of the spotlight on God and show what He's doing and just give Him the honor and the glory, and then also y'all just give y'all the respects that y'all are there, and it's awesome. It's great, and we pray that it continues to be a blessing for y'all and give y'all a lot of financial, how do you say? Not blessings, but just
Prosperity.
everything. Y'all fill in the words. It's all right. Fill in the blank. No, y'all know what y'all need, and God is with you, and we hope this also encourages y'all to remember that, and because you do, but just again.
It's always a good
as
reminder.
always, yes, that He's there with you, and we love y'all, and we just thank y'all for coming and joining us
Thank you for
today.
having us. It was
Thank you.
fun.
Any last words you want to say before?
Come get a coffee.
Yeah, well, a part, yes.
So
please,
the hours of operation.
Hours, yes, hours.
We're
and
open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays 11 to 3. And so.
And you're very good at answering Facebook messages.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's
Our
very
phone
good.
number's on there. You can message us
Right
on
on
Facebook,
top,
Instagram. Like us on Facebook or Instagram at Shan Sweets is our, I don't know,
And share the
hashtag,
page and
username
everything,
or whatever we
yes.
call it. But any updates that we do, if we're going to be closed or hours are going to change or new menu items or
Right
anything,
there.
that's all
Yeah.
going to be, you're going to find everything on there.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for having us.